95.7 The Hog, Riggs, Guy, and the Morning Hog Brew Review with Vinny from SR Perrott.
Guys.
You win again. It's those big hands of his.
Huge hands.
Oh, my gosh. Welcome, Vinny.
Well, welcome back. Thank you for having me back.
I think we can call this a very special edition of the Brew Review.
It is very special because, you know, we had liquor, right, in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
We had the hard seltzer.
Oh, yeah.
We had beer.
Oh, that's brewed.
And guess what we're having now?
What is it?
We're going to have some wine.
What?
Yes!
That's it.
And you brought a special new friend.
Absolutely. I got a special new friend, Luke, here. And also, there's some cheese that we're going to pair with the wine.
Wow, I like this is already working out perfectly. We haven't tasted anything yet.
Absolutely.
I've been waiting for this day for a while now.
I'm excited that you're excited.
He physically has it marked on that calendar behind his back. It's been a countdown, and here we are. Tell us about what we're getting into today.
Absolutely.
Today we have 6 wines in front of us. We have the Gabriella Pinot Grigio, that's coming from the Friuli region of Italy. And we have Hummingbird's Riesling. That's a nice, crisp Riesling. It's off dry, so not going to be overly sweet. It's a very nice representation of German Rieslings. Following that, we have the Fernhoek Sauvignon Blanc coming from the Marlborough region of New Zealand. That's got some wonderful grapefruit notes coming on that one.
Nice.
From that, we'll transition over to the Rosé because obviously it's summer and Rosés have been becoming ever popular. Great selection here. It's actually it's a bubbly, so we'll
Excellent.
look forward to that. And then going into the reds, we have Sieur de Trinquelage here, and that's a blend of grapes coming from the Southern Rhone region. It's a Merlot-based blend. Got Grenache and Syrah also coming on that. The grapes change from year to year depending on production over in the region, but GSM this year, as it's known in the industry.
So the grapes change per year. That's why they say, well, the 2014, that was a good year.
When somebody says something like that, that's actually reference to climate and other conditions going into the wine. This particularly, it's just based on production in the. It's a collective of farms, and so some farms might not be able to produce what they need to get the blend where they want it to taste. Then finally, we have Poppy Hills Cabernet Sauvignon being bottled in Napa Valley. This is the 2016. Been a very popular seller for us.
Sweet.
So which one do you want to start with?
Start with the Pinot Grigio down here on the end.
And this is a palate thing, right? The order that you put these in,
Yes.
Is a reason for it?
Yes. The red is going to mask a lot of other flavors if we were to try and go backwards.
Okay.
So we're going to start with the lightest and work our way up.
So now you don't have to let this one sit open and air out for a while, do you?
No. And in fact, these are the screw cap tops on these.
Okay.
A lot of people believe that means it's an inferior wine. However, it's actually the best encapsulating device for wine.
Really?
It's basically when a winemaker chooses to use this device to seal the wine in the glass, or in the bottle, I should say, is exactly the way the winemaker intends you to drink it.
Okay.
Most of your whites you're going to want to drink within 3 to 5 years of the date on the bottle, and with this cap, it doesn't allow any air infusion into the wine. So this
is one of those that avoids my one dumb question of the day: is a screw tap wrong or a screw cap wrong?
I think he answered. It's kind of like cans with beer.
Yeah.
You know, people have that stigmatism with beer and cans, which is actually the best form to put beer in. It's the same thing this way with the screw caps.
Okay.
See, I've always been the snob that says, "Oh, it's a screw top. I don't want it." So now I just got taught today that that's not the case.
Originally that was the case because there was a cork shortage, and it was originally it seemed as an easy way to reduce cost on bottling. But now we have other wonderful options that also aren't wrong, including the box packages with the bladders inside of them.
Okay.
In that form, no oxygen is able to get into that plastic bag sitting in the box, and you can actually serve yourself out of that box for 3 to 4 weeks sitting on your counter.
What's the best way to taste a wine when you're sampling it?
Well, in a real wine glass for one. You want to pick the best wine glass for the varietal. There is definitely reds versus white glasses, and that is designed to actually capture the nose of the wine, so that it is being presented to your palate. And in fact, what you taste is actually what you're your scent or your smell is telling you. 85% of what your taste is actually coming from your nose
Okay.
when it comes
And
down.
it's good to let it sit there, right? So it's a swish it around situation when you're trying to
you want to get it all
over.
over the palate there,
Right.
all over the tongue. There's different parts of the tongue that is going to tell you different notes.
So
Here's the important question: do you spit or swallow?
Depends on what you're doing.
Okay.
In a setting like this, it would probably be better to spit because then we can really appreciate every wine.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you're going to
Yeah.
knock down a bottle or two, then by all
Then just
means
go
swallow.
ahead and sample it
Yeah,
out. So,
yeah.
so if you're actually doing a wine tasting with a flight of different wines, you're better off to swish and spit versus to swallow.
Yeah, well, I mean, absolutely. I just had the opportunity to go to France to visit some of our wineries there, and most of my days had anywhere between 50 and 80 wines that I was tasting, and you could see by the end of the day where that would be a problem. You don't.
Yeah.
And actually, a party technique is to serve your best wine first.
Okay.
If you're hosting a dinner party, you would present the bottle to your guests, and this happened back to the days of the kings and royalty, and then your less quality wine would be served in a decanter, where the label wouldn't necessarily be on the wine, because by that point the alcohol starts to numb the senses on the tongue, and your guests aren't going to know any difference.
Okay. And it wouldn't matter whether it was a red or a dark or a light.
If you're switching between wines,
Yeah.
then yes, they're going
Yeah.
to
Okay.
notice the difference. But
Okay.
yeah, if it's a similar grape,
So you mentioned the nose of the wine earlier. What's the difference between the nose and the bouquet?
I would say that's the same.
Same thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just whoever's saying
Just some
it.
people call it a nose, some people call it the bouquet. It's the aromatics that you're getting out of
Right.
it.
The next one here is the Hummingbird Riesling. This has got some great tart green apple notes to the finish on
A
this.
little pop.
Yeah, it's got that cap, the seal underneath the cap there that pops when you
You
open
said
it.
this is tart. It has tart green apple notes.
Yes, so it's not going to be a sweet Riesling. It's going
Okay.
to be off dry, but pairs very well with salmon.
Okay. Is there a now? I know when we talk about beer brewing, we talk about the hops and the yeast doing a lot of the work and the flavor. What is it similar in wine, or is there like a certain?
It can be. There are different forms of yeast that you can use in wine. I actually have a couple wineries that use the native yeast in the vineyard, and there are even some wineries that have yeast that are just hanging around in the wineries themselves,
Right.
and that helps to start the fermentation on the grapes.
Okay.
So is it also true, depending on climate, depending on altitude, acidity of the soils, you can get different flavor profiles out of the same grape depending on where they're grown?
Absolutely, and that's actually a term known in the industry as terroir. Spelled it as terrier. That's comes from the French winemaking tradition, but it refers to all that aspect from the amount of rain in a year to the overall climate that you experience, which can be different from one side of a mountain to another, especially the one slope versus the other, east versus west facing. And you'll get over there into the mountainous regions that produce wine, and you'll see that on the one side of the mountain there's absolutely nothing, and then on the other side of the mountain, going for miles down the road, is beautiful vineyards.
The amount of sun per day and that kind of
Yes,
stuff.
that
right
is
away?
that is important, especially, and it's variable based on the grape that you're choosing to grow.
Okay. I'm a big fan of this.
Yeah,
I like
normally
that.
Rieslings are extremely sweet.
Yeah. But it really is a tart apple. Now, grapes aside, are there any other fruits happening here? Or is it just the notes that you're talking about with the apple and everything?
This is probably a little more cold than I would serve it. I got it fresh from the bag, but the green apple always comes out forward on this. You do get some light melon coming across on it.
Okay.
Other than that, it's very typical of, at least on the taste, on what a Riesling should show. Our next white here is the Fernhoek Sauvignon Blanc, coming
Okay.
from the Marlborough region. That is one of the most premier regions there in New Zealand. There is some very typical notes that you're going to see on this Sauvignon Blanc. It's got some wonderful grapefruit notes coming forward on this vintage. I believe this is the 2016 vintage, if you could double check that for me, Vin. Yes, it is.
It doesn't matter red or white. Do you find it better to just pour it straight out of the bottle, or would you recommend an aerator?
Aerator can be helpful in aging a wine. If the bottle's still young, and it's suggested that the bottle should sit in a cellar and age for a little longer, you can actually expedite that aging process. It's not a magical formula, but you could definitely oxidation, excuse me, is what is going on there.
So was that a on purpose overpour? Just asking.
Well, we know you like wine.
Oh, I love wine.
Absolutely.
You earned that one. Plus, you look thirsty.
Yeah, you do look thirsty.
Wow.
It's hot out there.
This has a completely different taste.
Yeah. Definite notes of almost a grassiness or hay coming across on that, and that's typical of this region as well. One year they actually said fern, which is poetic because the winery's called Fernhook.
Now, when you're drinking wine and you notice on the side of your glass those little legs that are coming down, what are those?
That is actually a sign of the alcohol in it. A lot of people associate it with quality of the wine, but it's actually you see the leg more defined based on the higher quantity of alcohol. And where the confusion comes in is that often your greatest quality wines are high alcohol. Two of the variables that make a great quality wine that can be aged is alcohol and acidity.
So if you see very defined legs, that means there's a high alcohol content.
That's a very good clue.
Okay.
Very good clue, I should say. Some other times, depending on the soap that was used on the glass, can affect that. But
by the way, you know who else has very defined legs? Vinny. Look at those things. Look at that. Powerlifting. He used to powerlift back. He doesn't want to brag about it. But this is a whole different. You're right. The earthy, grassy tone is different.
Two different profiles from this one to that one. It's amazing, in the wine world, how just using those few ingredients, they can just flip that around.
Yeah.
You go from fruity on the last one to nice
process
grassy,
essentially the same. Just
for the most
ingredients.
part, it is. You had a northern hemisphere wine versus a southern hemisphere wine.
Okay.
There's a little bit difference there. You're getting into the sparkling rosé here.
Okay.
So the cage is because it's carbonated?
Yes, and it's helping to keep the cork in there.
Hey, happy 2014! Do it.
I'm not sure where that went. Oh, it's over there.
That was a hell of a firework.
That one off
right.
pretty heavy.
Now, that's actually one of the tests that I have to take for my level 2 sommelier, is being able to get that cork without making much of a noise.
Oh,
Really? So it's not supposed to really have a pronoun. It's like making a splash in a
Well,
competitive
the
diving.
concept is you're trying to, as a sommelier, you're actually in a restaurant servicing the customers of the
Okay.
restaurant.
Yeah.
So the last thing you want to do is disturb another customer's experience. So by trying to muffle the noise of the cork coming out is highly desirable.
Okay.
so this is very carbonated.
But it is the sound of excitement and party usually. When you hear a cork pop, it's something good must be happening.
Quick side story. I was on a cruise and I won a bottle of champagne.
Yeah.
And I took the cage off and I was looking at it like this, which is something you should never do.
Right.
And it caught me right here.
Oh, man.
Had I been like 1 inch this way, I would have lost my eye.
would've lost your eye.
So if you're taking a cage off of a bottle that is like that, do not look at it.
Yeah.
Point it away from
Don't
you
be
at all
like
times.
Yeah, pointed
but
at somebody else.
Plus, as we always say, always protective eyewear when you drink.
Were
We do
you
that-
waiting to see
we
if you
do it
put a
all
hole in the
time.
roof?
Always-
That went up pretty hard.
Yeah, it did.
Oh, wait, you've opened up a portal to a magical land. Had to get in there afterwards. We got a lot of. All right.
This is very nice.
Yeah.
Holy wow.
Very nice, very clean, very easy.
This is Casa Farive. This is a fairly new product for our market here.
Okay.
It is a sparkling rosé. Rosé is growing in popularity every year. Some credit the Hamptons for revitalizing the popularity of this particular type of wine.
Okay.
But it has been spreading throughout the country, and it's a great warmer climates drinking wine, I should say.
So why is this why is this considered a wine and not a champagne?
That's
'Cause
where I was
normally
going.
you see the bubbles in
Yeah.
champagne, not
That's exactly
wine.
where I was going. I fight this every year. What's the difference? And there's a
Technically,
lot
we
of
would
difference.
actually call this a sparkling wine.
Okay.
And Casa Farive is based out of Italy. The other issue you have there in what you were saying is champagne is actually protected. It's a geological region that you're only allowed to produce champagne in that particular region of France. In fact, there are other sparkling wines in France that can't be called champagne because of this protection that is part of our trade agreements.
So they have to be made in that Champagne region to be called
there
a
are
champagne.
a couple exceptions that are in California, but that's a a legal thing, and they were being grown before the
It's
agreement.
the region that it's produced, or it's the ingredients that are confined
It's the region.
to that?
It is the region.
Okay. Gotcha.
Because you have Prosecco from Italy, technically the same thing
Sure.
as Champagne.
Okay.
Sparkling wine, again.
From a flavor profile, what is the primary difference? Is there some ingredient that separates those things, or is it straight?
They're
Original.
trying to protect the heritage and wineries that are there in Champagne.
Okay.
And in fact, it's a very sophisticated community there as far as protecting the image of Champagne. And Champagne doesn't always get a vintage date on it. They if the wine isn't quality enough to them, they will just use it to make what is considered basic Champagne. Other years where the wine is of high enough quality, they actually put the year on it. But because of this and uncertainty and weather factors and all that, there's actually 1 billion bottles of Champagne sitting in tunnels underneath that region. And it's not a very big region.
Wow.
Wow.
So, and that's basically a rainy
exceptional.
Dane.
Yeah.
So would it be safe to say that champagne and sparkling wine are the exact same thing? You just can't call it champagne if it doesn't come from that region.
There are other factors. Champagne does limit the type of grapes that can go into Champagne.
Okay.
So,
so
yes
the
and
answer
no.
is yes and no. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. So this
Yeah.
one,
What are we trying next?
This next one is actually a blend. It's called Sieur de Trinquelage, and that's just a label name.
All
It's
right.
made by the Mont Ventoux Vineyards. It's a collective in the Southern Rhone region, and here they're blending a Grenache, Syrah, and Merlot blend. That blend will change depending on the year. They'll use other grapes, but they're trying to every year get a similar taste.
Okay.
So that is like I like red blends. Would that be considered a red blend, or does it have a specific name like Cabernet?
No, this is a red blend.
Okay.
Yeah. This is coming from a warmer climate, so you're going to see some lighter grapes, or the juice is going to seem lighter to you, and that's reflective of the region.
Okay.
so is this, should we eat a slice of cheese first or drink the wine first?
Drink the wine first and
Okay.
kind of,
And then go from there?
yeah.
Oh wow. Well, that's got some flavor. There's some things happening there.
There's a lot happening.
Yeah.
We are definitely in red, so difference in what you're going to see in whites. You're going to see some more white-colored fruits, i.e. melons and apples and peaches, nectarines. Some of the wines that we didn't really touch on that, like with the Pinot Grigio, definitely has that melon and peach coming across on it. This, you're going to go into more red and blue and black fruits. So this one particularly has red and black cherries
Really?
kind of in
Okay.
that. And you might be able to see that there. This wine also has a hint of strawberry coming across on it. And in the past, it has had notes of white flower notes,
All right.
which is something you can find in most wines.
Okay. And how much does that taste differ from year 1 or 2 to year 10?
This particular manufacturer is trying to get a similar taste every year.
Yeah.
But there are definitely, for example, the Fern Hook this year definitely has the grapefruit coming across on it.
Okay.
2 years ago, it had cantaloupe right on it. I
Okay.
mean, that's what you picked out on it.
All right. Okay.
Now, why do you lay them down versus have them standing up? And
Well, the cork is actually still a breathing thing. Cork is actually a bark of the cork tree, and this is a very fine sample on this bottle that we have here for Poppy Hill, which is our next wine. You can definitely see the porousness to it, and there is a slow diffusion of air getting into the wine. And by having the wine on its side and keeping a seal on that bottle, you're not allowing air to collect on the top of the wine and then causing a unnatural aging of the wine.
so
This is
basically,
more
it's
of a-
keeping the cork more like
it's keeping the cork wet.
yes.
So that it remains the seal.
Cool.
So the next one?
Is Poppy Hill Cabernet. This is aged in Napa Valley. This bottle was aged for at least 18 months. This is actually a sister project of another brand that we carry called Madonna Estates. Madonna Estates has been out in Napa Valley since 1922, and they're now on their 5th generation. This is the 5th generation. The son, he's producing his own label by getting grapes from other parts of California and being able to use his family's facilities, able to produce a high-quality Cabernet at a quality price.
Is that still the primary California production place, Napa Valley, or I know there's Sonoma and some other places that are.
Napa has built-in nostalgia, and you're going to be hard-pressed to find somebody to take the argument against it being the best.
Is that for the United States in all, or is that just
arguably for the world?
Yeah.
You can see tasting competitions, including the famous one in 1976 in France, where some very young wineries from California had gone against some pretty prestigious, long-lived wineries of France, and in a blind tasting, won out against them.
Wow.
And there's a lot of nice geological factors going on that benefit Napa.
So Napa is our best area to grow grapes to and produce grapes for wine?
Currently in the world, yes.
Okay. I know that upstate New York has a lot going on now, too. Is that climate? Is it kind of similar to the same latitude and longitude you want to use for hops? Or is that a different, like the Willamette Valley out there is in the same latitude as over in upstate and around that? Okay. So it's the same kind of growth.
It's a similar concept,
okay.
Yes. There are particular grapes that can grow in particular longitudes and latitudes.
Another question for you. So we went through some whites and we went through some reds, and I noticed that the whites are always chilled, the reds aren't. So what's the difference of why you would chill a white versus not chilling a white?
It's the structure on the wine. The reds definitely allow more flavor and bouquet to come out at the warmer temperature, where the whites are they don't have the sediment that's in the wine that's in red wine, and they're able to blossom at a cooler temperature.
At a cooler temperature, so you can get that on your palate. Okay, yeah. I was just always curious about that because to me, grapes are grapes, but I guess they're not. It's like hops. You have to look at it that way. In the beer side, hops are a lot different. Grapes are all different.
Sure.
So it's that.
And what is different about this one? This is so much smoother on the front. There's no.
Yeah, it's not very aggressive.
There's no bite at all. What is different about the Poppy Hill?
The Poppy Hill is a cab. Our last one was a Merlot heavy blend.
Wow.
And it was designed to be like a Merlot. This cab has been aged for 18 months in French oak barrels, and that kind of allows the barrels to entail certain flavors. You're going to get more chocolate and vanilla notes, as well as other spices coming across when barrel exposure is. Our whites, those are more reflective of exactly what the grape is doing and what the soil has contributed to it, because they're being aged in stainless steel barrel or stainless steel tanks.
Okay.
Whereas this final red that we had here is definitely being aged in French oak barrels. We've been producing wine since 6000 BC in Georgia, which is the country, not the state.
Yeah, right.
And then the Greeks really ran with it, and then the Romans owe their expansion to wine. It's having the something safe to drink rather than a random water source, and being able to transport it that really made their empire grow. And it really isn't until the last 50 years that we've really perfected some of the ideas of making varietal-specific wines. In fact, the earliest Greek wines were just every grape they could find, throw it in, and whatever you got is what you got.
Excellent.
Nice. Well,
Guy has not grabbed the bottle yet.
No, we're waiting.
You're being very reserved right now.
Wait till the cameras turn off.
Okay.
Show's over. All right. So the important thing is, all of these are SR Perrott available, right?
Absolutely. Can you tell them where they're available?
We have them. Most of these wines are actually boutique, so you're going to see them more in the restaurant setting or small boutique wineries. Mostly due to the nature on the limitation of the amount of bottles. We couldn't really sell these to an ABC or a Publix, in that we'd be able to put 3 bottles in every store, and that would be it for the year. And you don't really build a brand loyalty.
There we go.
That way.
Because take that one.
Because you would sell out in a store, and then your customer would forget by the time it would come out next year.
Yeah.
So we take a more boutique approach to the wines, and we're able to sustain our customers year round, and we do wonderful events, including wine tastings and wine dinners with our restaurants. Yeah. We go to festivals with Vinny and sample out the wines to help
We have another person that works with him, Sue. Sue's been doing it for a long time, too. So we have a couple people out there. And just a quick story on how SR Perrott came to carry wines. Michelle, our owner, was over in France, and she was bicycling. And she came across...
Mont Ventoux Vineyards, which is actually the manufacturer of the Sieur Trinquelage that we have here today.
Oh, okay.
She found that on a bike wine tour.
Wow.
And her comments to the people that put this on, we could really do this a lot better in a car.
Yeah, that sounds like a challenge that is fun at first, and with each wine tasting seems like
it gets a little
worse
hard.
idea. Yeah.
So she ended up telling them she liked their wine so much she wanted to distribute it over here, and they made a deal, and that's
We started.
a couple months later we ended up with this one.
Started between 6 and 8 wines, almost 8 years ago now.
Yeah.
And we now have over 60 in the portfolio. All of them are hand selected by Michelle. Of those 60, probably 10 were rejected. So it's not just about putting something there that we're trying to sell. It's about a quality product that Michelle wants to represent and bring to the community.
Yeah, she wants to bring good wine, not like we talked about earlier, the other stuff. So it's nice, clean. They're all, like she said, they're very eclectic, very small, very boutique-y. You're not going to find them everywhere. They're just good wines.
Now, if you guys want a full list of everything we just tried, it's at srperrott.com.
Yeah.
Which is right. Where'd it go?
It's over there.
Oh, there it is.
By Vinny.
srperrott.com. And I just got to say, this has been one of my favorite ones.
I know.
Thank you for all the knowledge you've bestowed upon me.
Yeah.
I now feel like I can drink wine and feel a little more intelligent when I do it.
I feel smarter, and I feel like I'm going to need a note from you so I can tell my wife why I need to share her wine now. If that's all right.
That's the only problem with this segment. Now we're all going to go home and drink their wine.
That's right. That's
I would also like to apologize to my wife. I know it's Friday, but I'm going to come home a little tanked.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to let these bottles leave this room.
The Morning Hog Brew Review. Guy, Riggs, Vinny, S.F. Perrott, Luke, and this.
Cheers.
There you go.
Yeah, bye.